Welcome to the Freedom Founder Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Duggar. Now, every year we often hear, what's your New Year's resolution? What are you changing in your life this year? And it often isn't as easy as, I'm going to the gym. I'm going to go ahead and lose weight. I'm going to make a change in my daily routines because there's a lot more that goes into it. There's overcoming and adapting that occurs in our lives to be able to make those changes. Now, my guest today has had to go through a lot of that overcoming and adapting circumstances in his own life as he continues to move forward and progress, and is also helping a lot of other people do the same through his work with Inner Anthem Academy. He is the founder of Inner Anthem Academy along with his wife, Seisha. 16 years as a fitness professional with over 2,600 students worldwide and has over 10 100-pound losers. Now, I want to welcome David Falco to the show today. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Now, I love to get these conversations started with the entrepreneurs in regards to kind of your early part of your journey. For many people, it wasn't necessarily that you just woke up one day and decided, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to get something started on my own. How did you get started in entrepreneurship?
My whole life has been about adjusting. So, just a nutshell, uh, from childhood to
Yeah.
even now, currently, I ran away at 17.
Yep.
So, I was a runaway at 17. In my 20s, I was broke and lost. In my 30s, I've had three failed businesses. And I was in and out of jail just as many times during my
Mhm.
30s. And now, here being at 40, I've been able to have a huge comeback,
Yep.
adjusting and adapting as we talked about. And
Yeah.
the moral of this story is like you can make mistakes over and over and over and still progress and still learn and still move forward in the direction that you want to go, and overcome those mistakes, overcome those missteps and those shortcomings. And it's
Yeah.
all about the ebbs and flows. A lot of times, what I talk to my students about is like there's no such thing as balance. You have to be
Yep.
able to roll with the punches, and the people that adjust and adapt the best and the most are the people that are going to be successful in doing it. And the people that
Yeah.
don't. Darwin always talks about it's not the strongest species that survives. It's not the most intelligent species that survives. It's the species that adapts the best, that's going to
Yeah.
continue to move forward. So, my personal journey into entrepreneurship was actually adjusting and adapting to a door getting slammed in my face in
Okay.
college. In college, I was actually going to be going into the assisted living industry.
Okay.
And so I had done my senior practicum at an assisted living center here in Oklahoma City.
Yep.
And they told me, "Oh, David, you're a shoe-in. The residents love you. You know, when you finally graduate, we'll have your formal interview." And he's like, "You're just like, we love you, we love you, love you."
Yep.
And so my senior year, I didn't look in any other places. I was like, "Okay, I guess this is going to be it. This is going to be my first
Right.
position, my first job, so to speak, out of college." And so I just put
Yeah.
all my eggs in that basket. And then when the time came, when we did the actual formal interview after I graduated, there were two candidates. There was myself,
Hmm.
and the other young lady was the daughter of one of the executives at the
Okay.
facility. And
Yep.
long story short, I was not chosen, and
Mm.
so that door
Right.
was slammed in my face, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I had no clue.
Right.
Like I said, I had not looked anywhere else, planned for anything else. I thought this was it. So here I was, just shrugging, being like, okay, well, what's next? What
Yep.
ended up happening was I used my graduation money for probably about 2 months, maybe three, just squeaking out, and well, that started to wear thin. And
Sure.
and
Right.
then eventually, like, I got to do something. And so I actually, my first job was at GNC at the mall. And
Okay.
so I'd only got that position because one of my other former teammates had a position. One of the other ones is like, dude, they're looking for somebody. You know, it'll be, super easy, at least to get you rolling. And so
Yeah.
that was actually selling supplements was actually my first job post college,
Okay.
working at Penn Square Mall. Um,
Does GNC still exist?
I don't know, honestly.
Don't
I
either.
do. Maybe, I don't know. I think they do. I think they
All
do.
right.
But yeah,
So
that
you're
was
at
my
GNC. Yep.
yeah, working at GNC at the mall. and that was in September of that year. And then at the end, it was August, September. At the end of September, I'd
Yeah.
always still trained because of athletics too, as well.
Sure.
A lot of I don't even know if a lot of my students even know this, but I was still training at the facilities at the university.
Okay.
And one day I went up for a training session, and on the door of the entrance, it said, "Trainers wanted.
Yep.
Call this number." Da 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 da. One of the former basketball players at the university was actually an owner of a private one-on-one studio downtown Oklahoma City. It was a Fitness Together franchise,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
so it just struck my curiosity. It's like, huh, I never thought about it. I never thought about doing it. I don't have a degree in kinesiology or exercise science or anything like that. My
Yep.
actual bachelor's degree is in psychology. But
Okay.
here I am at GNC. I was like, well, let me just see what this is all about. So I called them up. Hey, come on down for an interview.
Yeah.
Went downtown, did the interview, and they were only looking for part time. However, there was another franchise studio that they knew the guy was looking for positions to as well. So they referred me to the Westmore studio,
Okay.
and went up there, had the interview. They hired me that day. I came on board as just an entry level trainer, did all my
Yep.
shadowing, did all my testing, all that stuff. Within 3 months, yeah, within 3 months of being at that studio, I took over as manager. And then
Okay.
within 2 years, I ended up going in with a partner and purchasing the studio on my
Wow.
own
Okay.
within that 2 year period. And
Yeah.
that's how my entrepreneur
Yeah.
journey started. So I've always loved fitness. I've always been in athletics.
Yep.
So it is something that, fortunately, my father got me into. When I was very young, since I was 6, I started working out
Sure.
as early as I think 7th or 8th grade. But
Yeah.
I'd been in fitness and athletics my whole entire life. It was just an easy, natural transition.
Yeah.
Had a solid foundation, so knew the ins and outs, even though I didn't have any quote unquote formal education on it.
Yep.
And so it was just a really natural transition for myself. And like I said, how things transpired was just overcoming and adapting, getting an opportunity that you thought was in the bag. Like I said, having that door just slammed in your face, and you're just sitting there looking around, like, okay, well, what do I do now? So
Right.
that's in a
Yeah.
nutshell how I started the
Right.
whole entrepreneurship.
Okay. So you had some adversity early on in life. You had
Yeah.
mentioned some running away from your home, and
Yep.
also having had gone through being in jail. Now that was not necessarily during that specific period you just mentioned, but going into this career path that you had planned on, you're pursuing, working in the assisted living field, and that door was kind of shut, and now you had to evaluate and found this next step led you into GNC, which matched some of that fitness interest. Absolutely. So you're
Yeah.
able to continue in that vein and continue in that path of pursuing fitness where you're working out, saw that sign, trainers wanted, and then that led you to that next step. Okay.
Yeah.
So then you kept walking the path. Ultimately, we're able to buy that location. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that started that journey in entrepreneurship. Now, you had a location, and what happened next with that? Were you did you continue just to expand that location? Where were your kind of growth vision from there?
Great question. So we ended up, I graduated in '06. I
Yep.
ended up purchasing it in '08. But what allowed me to do that is in 2008 is when the recession happened. And
Okay.
so a lot of quote unquote additional expenses for people were getting
Sure.
cut. And so
Yeah.
this private one-on-one model that particular franchise was doing took a major hit, a major toll, because
Yeah.
it was
Right.
a luxury, right?
Yep.
And so, but that allowed us to be in a position to where we could actually take over. And so we did. And then from there, this was the same time. I ended up purchasing the studio. I went in with a partner purchasing a studio, but this was also the same. This is crazy. The same exact month, I discovered a new methodology of training, CrossFit, uh,
Yeah.
and so I actually fell in love with that because of the competitive side of it. And as I said, I've been
Okay.
my athletics
Yep.
my entire life, and so that was one thing that drew to me because after college, after all these athletics, I didn't have anything else that I could compete in. I was thinking, well,
Right.
I knew how to play chess, but wasn't any competitive. I was like, well,
Yep.
do I do paintball? Do I do like what do I do? I was missing that competitive desire. Well, when this style of method of training came along, I was like, oh, it's like you can like work out, but you're like competing against people in class. That immediately drew me in.
Yep.
And so
Right.
I went down that direction. I was still doing, obviously, I still had the studio and was doing one on one, but I was actually trying to figure out what this all was. And this was before like the big explosion, before it was
Right.
everywhere. There was
Yeah.
actually an affiliate on the other side of, I don't know, not say the other side of town, about 10 minutes from actually where the studio was at. So I would train my clients. This is crazy.
Yep.
I would train my clients. After training my clients, I would go work out at the noon class at the
Yep.
affiliate, come
Yep.
back in the afternoon, and then train my one-on-one clients. Let's fast forward about a year and a half into the one-on-one, I get a phone call from this guy. He says, "Hey, I'm wanting to open up this big facility. I want to have CrossFit to be a part of it, and
Right.
I want to partner up with you, and you lead that section, that sector of the gym." I said, "Okay."
Sure. Right.
Um, Ended up doing that. I still had my one-on-one studio, but then
Yeah.
we went in with this other guy, and we opened up this. It was an affiliate, but it was like boxing, rock climbing, CrossFit, yoga. It was kind of like the gym that tried to incorporate like everything.
Right.
It didn't last long at all. It was just
Okay.
that's a we don't have time for that story.
Yeah.
But long story short, I had my one-on-one studio, but I was also
Yep.
doing the affiliate up north too as well.
Yeah.
I ended up deciding to shut the one-on-one studio down to go full force into the affiliate. That
Yep.
partnership didn't work, so I ended up opening up my own affiliate. And so at one point, I was actually literally driving equipment to and from my studio
Okay.
to my
Yep.
affiliate, kettlebells in the trunk, bumper plates in the back
Okay.
seat, and I was transporting equipment. I just had to make it work.
Right. Just
So
had good suspension.
yeah. So I had a one-on-one studio. I had a quote unquote, I don't even know how to say it, a micro gym experience.
Yep.
I had an affiliate model with CrossFit. We also
Okay.
incorporated a boot camp. And so in regards to the fitness industry, I've done it all.
Yeah.
One-on-one, big micro gym, affiliate style, boot
Right.
camps. And now I've changed with COVID happening in 2020. Um, Unfortunately, I was part of the statistic of 33% of all gyms in the
Sure.
US closing down. That was
Right.
one of the biggest adjustments and overcoming that we had to do. And we
Right.
pivoted going to online. And that's what I've been doing ever since for the last 3
Okay.
years is just fully online coaching.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. That extends your reach, though. So it's in moving
Absolutely.
online, as we brought up in the intro there, 2,600 people worldwide
Yep.
allows you to connect with so many more. Now, with that online platform, one of the things that we had talked about that was unique is that it's not just with Inner Anthem Academy specifically, it's not just about teaching people how to exercise or giving them a plan for their fitness. You're looking at that psychological component and how that impacts their ability to be able to do and have success in different areas of their lives. So I'm very interested in that topic as I also have a psychology background and
Yeah.
I see that value and extending the offering to be more than just here's a plan and I hope you can follow through with it.
Yeah. So even on our group coaching today, so we do multiple group coachings throughout the week.
Yeah.
So we have two different levels. I have an elite one-on-one program, and then we also have a group model too as well. But even in the group coaching today, we didn't talk about workouts or movements.
Yep. Yep.
We didn't even really talk about food or anything like that. The majority of today's discussions with the students that were on was just their emotional control.
Yeah.
And a lot of our students, they either have poor time management, their lives are very hectic, very chaotic, and they're just super stressed out. And from that stress, they do a lot of emotional coping, and a lot of that emotional
Yep.
coping is with their vices. And
Sure.
so we have an emphasis. What's different between how we operate and other the gym is
Yep.
Seisha and I are more focused on how the student behaves outside of the gym.
Okay.
So we very little, yes, we have a program. We customize out their workouts. Obviously, we customize out their nutrition. But what we're focusing on and emphasizing is how does this person behave the other 23 hours that they're not in the gym? So
Yeah.
it's a complete shift. It's not, it's like workouts are
Yep.
workouts. I mean, it's like people could go on
Yep.
Google and YouTube and find information on nutrition. They can find information on workouts. It's like that's the easy part. I want to know is like,
Sure.
how do you respond when you've had a long freaking week and your kids are driving you crazy, or you got in an argument with
Right.
or you got in an argument with your spouse, or you don't even, just all the normal day-to-day domestic things that come up that people get stressed out about.
Yep.
And so it's like helping our students have some self-awareness of what they're doing, how they're responding to those stressors, what are their triggers, and then just simply just getting a plan of action, developing some boundaries and expectations for
Sure.
them
Right.
to help navigate those ebbs and flows of the week. And so it's funny, you said we both have backgrounds in psychology. It's actually a ton
Yep.
of that. It's more
Yep.
I would say it's actually more psychological than it is exercise science or kinesiology or any of that stuff. It's just like,
Okay.
again, our emphasis is like, how do you behave on the weekends? How do you
Yep.
behave when you're stressed out at work? How do you behave when your kids are, driving you crazy and you just want to just pull your hair out? It's like those are the moments when people tend to go towards their vices. That's what we're working
Yeah.
on them having better self-control.
Let's hit on that one topic right there. You said working with people on their vices. You've had to personally overcome some things in your own life that also had impacted you. You mentioned having been in jail on a few occasions.
Yep.
Talk about that overcoming that you've had to do in that area as well, because I think it also has a solid value when people realize that what they're seeing right now is okay, you've transitioned from these gyms, now you're doing this online program, 2,600 people. That didn't mean you didn't have to continue to overcome and adapt to things that were continuing to occur in your own life. So one of those being challenged with alcohol.
Absolutely. Yeah, and so, I've been in and out of jail 3 times, as an adult, and they're
Yeah.
all alcohol related.
Yep.
Poor decision making. My personal relationship with my vices, I'm an extremely disciplined,
Hmm.
individual, but I'm also, have an extreme personality, and
Yep.
so even for me in these pendulum swings in my own rationale, I'm just like everybody else. It's like, you have that little voice. Oh, you deserve. It's okay. Just one won't
Hmm.
hurt. You've had a
Sure.
hard week. I deal with those same demons as
Yep.
everybody else. And so for me, like I said, extremely disciplined. But whenever I get into a more of a celebratory mood, I didn't turn
Hmm.
toward my vices to more of like necessarily cope.
Yeah.
But when I get in trouble, it's from celebrating and
Sure.
celebrating too
Yeah.
much.
To the
And
extreme.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I made some poor choices,
Uh-huh.
a couple times, and, it got me in trouble, and
Yeah.
this is the one things it's like I've had to, in regards to that type of lifestyle, I've completely turned a new leaf, and I've
Yep.
had to because, we've just had our 2nd child, Seisha and I, so,
Yep.
Zaman is 2, and then Lenny is 3 months, almost 4 months, and there came to a point where her and I've actually had this conversation, in the past, and she was like, the one that got me is she told me the last time that it happened when I was acting a fool.
Sure.
She said, David, he's like, we have an amazing relationship except for when you act like this. And
Hmm.
she was talking about the way I acted the night prior.
Right.
And then when she told me that I don't know if that's how she put it, but it resonated with me deeper than it had the other times that we had had that conversation.
Yeah.
And I really had to do some internal soul searching. Is like when I told myself, is like this is a legitimate potential risk of you screwing up your family, David.
Yeah.
And I told myself, it is like, how stupid would you be if this was the reason? Like
Sure.
you don't know how to celebrate appropriately without acting a fool. It's like it was dumb. But since we had that conversation, um, haven't touched it.
Yeah.
I've been 1,000% sober now for since October of last year. Um,
Excellent.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Yeah.
And here's the thing, like, I wanna, for the audience, you guys gotta understand is,
Yep.
like, even though I made that decision, there's always still temptation.
Yeah.
And whether it is like, if you're wanting to elevate your fitness, you're still gonna have temptation with food. If you're trying to
Yep.
get sober, you're still gonna have temptation with your vices. If you're trying to anytime that you're trying to level up in your life, you're still going to have those challenges. It's not just gonna open up and just come super super easy. But this is the part
Right.
about this, and part of my own personal testimony is for my whole entire life, from running away to I got into some serious financial debt for me in my
Mhm.
20s that I had to overcome. Like I said, I've had 3 failed businesses that I've had
Yep.
to adjust and overcome. And then even, like I said, recently with my relationship, or my former relationship with alcohol,
Right.
I had to adjust, and it's just like it's always going to be a test, and we need those tests. Those tests are the opportunity for us to prove to ourselves that we are strong enough to overcome them. And if you just keep working, keep plugging, and you decide that you're not going to stop, you can become unstoppable, and you can overcome anything with enough effort and enough time.
I love that. I love the work that you and Seisha are doing and helping people to become unstoppable and helping to think about the times outside the gym, the 23 hours when they're not in the gym.
Yeah.
What are they doing during their week to be able to effectively work through the goals that they have set forth for them so that they can become unstoppable? Now, I do like to ask all my guests one question in regards to, if you were to be handed $1 million today, no strings attached, what would you do with that and why?
No strings attached. I don't know. I would actually Here's what I would do. This is what I
Yep.
do. I would have a conversation with Seisha.
There you go.
That's what I would do. So this is one of the
Oh,
biggest
I love
things.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of the biggest things in my own personal growth
Yep.
as a human and as a father, overcoming and adapting.
Yeah.
I at the time I was an extremely selfish person, and the reason why I became a selfish person is because I was only looking out for me because of past trauma, past situations with my childhood.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
because of that type of situation led me to develop is like, you need to look out for yourself, and it just became, it's like,
Sure.
I'm gonna do what I want. I don't
Yep.
care. And so over time, uh, being in a committed relationship, having children, you have to learn to adapt. It's not all about you. So
Yeah.
that's obviously a loaded question.
Yep.
People could be like, well, I'd do this and do this and do this and do
Yep.
this. There's these other 3 individuals in my life that I absolutely love to the core of me,
Yes.
and the ma- the majority of my decisions, the big decisions, are always going to have them uh, be in consideration of
Yeah.
what I do. I just got back
Yep.
from a mastermind this weekend out in California, and it was an investment. It was a big financial investment, but the reason that I
Yep.
did it was because of the long view of what it is that I wanted to accomplish
Right.
for my family and myself. Um,
Yes.
and so it's like, that's, yeah. I mean, no
I
strings.
think that's a great answer.
And
No.
the thing about with Seisha is like, she helps balance me out in
Yeah.
regards to, we complement each other on our strengths and our
Yep.
weaknesses. And sometimes I just act very, I wouldn't say knee jerk, but I'm just
Sure.
more quick to respond, and just
Yep.
move forward with action, where she's a little bit more cerebral. She's
Yeah.
very inquisitive. And so we complement each other, because there's times when she's a little bit slow in the decision making process, and then there's times
Right.
where I am too fast in the decision
Sure.
making process. So
Yeah.
it kind of we complement each other in that. But that's what I would do
Yeah. Yeah.
first thing.
Absolutely. No, I think that's a great answer, and I think that's a great point to leave it, really, to work within your relationship when you have a partner in your life, whether it's your spouse, your partner, or significant other, to work together collaboratively in things that you do, especially when you can see that complementary relationship that you have. And I love that your work years together on the Inner Anthem Academy, that you can complement each other there as well. Now, if our guests want to reach out to you to find out more about what you are doing, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
So obviously, it's like this is streaming on my Facebook right now, but I'm really pushing to grow my Instagram account, and so that's where I've been the
Yep.
most active lately. So on my Instagram, it's freefalco_fitness. Falco is
Okay.
FALCO. But that's where I'm congregating the majority of
Okay.
my quote unquote people who want to get in touch with me.
Okay.
Obviously, they've seen this on your stream or my stream
Yep.
on Facebook, but that would be that's the platform that I'm the most active on. So we're updating our website right now currently. So there you go. Perfect. Look at that
Yep.
ticker. I
Free
love
Falco
it.
underscore fitness on Instagram.
I
Okay.
love it. Yeah.
All right. All right. Sounds great. Definitely. I would encourage people to reach out, not just in the area of fitness, but in life, really. All of these things that David has talked about are impactful in all areas in respect of your life, relationships, finances, health, fitness, a lot of the areas that are important to each of us. So thank you, David, for your time again today. And I really appreciate the conversation. I know we didn't even get into some of the things that you also had to overcome and adapt to, but really clearly that's an important part of your story. But I think others need to realize that, overcoming and adapting is part of all of our lives, regardless of if the circumstances are um, super significant or if they seem minor in comparison. It's all about overcoming, adapting, building resilience, and becoming unstoppable.
And here's my first tip to anybody who's a stranger. I read this in Robert Kiyosaki's book,
Yep.
Rich Dad Poor Dad. Uh, and it's the one line that stuck with me for almost my entire life. He talked about it's like you never say the word can't. So when we're talking about
Yeah.
overcoming and adapting, you never say the word can't. You just simply ask yourself, how can I? Because in one situation, your brain will turn off and accept. In another
Yep.
situation, your brain will turn on and will start to think about solutions. And that's big, my just theme for all of my students. Like, you want to
Yep.
become a solution oriented human being. So, whatever the situation, you're going to overcome it and you're going to adapt to it by asking yourself, how can I? And that will begin the process to come up with solutions that we will then pursue. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Definitely makes sense.
that's for all of you guys out there. How can I? How can I? How can I? And you'll start to think of some answers.
Never say can't. I like that. All right. Well, thank you again, David, for your time today. Really appreciated the conversation.
Thank you so much. I
All
appreciate it.
right. Take care.
Have a good day.